Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Piano TV. So today what we're going to talk about is rhythm. Rhythm is an essential component of music. It's possibly even more important than the notes themselves, and it's certainly older. So today we're just going to look at the absolute basics. We're going to talk about a few different types of note values, and we're going to talk about time signatures. So if that sounds confusing, it won't in a few minutes. So let's get started. So there are a few components to rhythm that we're going to talk about. Rhythm you can think of as the big picture. It's kind of like the macrocosm, okay? And rhythm, if I'm getting all Webster on you, is defined as a repeated pattern of beats, essentially. A repeated pattern of sound or movement. Now, most rhythms are based on a tempo. And tempo is just speed, okay? So if I set the tempo to 100, that means 100 beats per minute. So just as a reference, there's 60 beats in a minute. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that tempo, that 100, and we're gonna organize it into groups of 4 to start to make it sound like something. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And all of a sudden that gives us a little bit more shape. Now look what happens when I take this organization, this pattern of 4, and I build a rhythm over top of it, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Timing is an essential part of rhythm. So before you even play a piece, you really need to get a sense of how the rhythm goes and what the tempo is like before you even start, okay? So for a super easy example, I'm gonna play Mary Had a Little Lamb. So I get the tune in my head, da 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 da, and I find my tempo. It's pretty quick, okay? And then what I'm gonna do, now that I have the beats and the tempo in my head, is I'm gonna sit down and play it. So basically, when I played that, there wasn't any metronome or anything, but you could probably still hear the steady beat underneath it, really gluing everything together. So anytime you're playing a piece, really watch that you don't have any awkward situations where maybe you're playing along and then you have some trouble. And then what's happening to your tempo is it's going like this, nice and steady, then all of a sudden it drops and then it picks back up. And it just creates a really awkward, uneven sound. So really listen to yourself when you're playing that you're keeping everything very steady. Now take a look at some music for Mary Had a Little Lamb here. Don't worry about the music staff or any of these symbols or anything like that right now. For now, I just want you to notice the different looking notes. Now you'll notice some of the notes are black, and over here you'll see that some of them are white. And over down at the bottom, you've got this like really weird guy who doesn't even have a stem and he's white. So there's 3 different types of notes in this song. And these all indicate different rhythm values. So these black notes are called quarter notes. And what a quarter note gets is just 1 beat. They each get 1 beat. Now, if you think about the metronome, if your metronome is ticking at about this speed, that means each quarter note is going to equal one of these beats. Da, 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 just like that. With these white notes over here, these are called half notes, and they're worth 2 beats. So they're twice as long. So these ones you're kind of going to stop and hold for a moment. When you get here, here's your metronome beat. Da, da, 1, 2. I always think it's best to just count to 2 when you're doing these ones. And this one over here gets the longest value. It gets 4 counts. So you would count all the way up to 4. And I'm going to play Mary Had a Little Lamb with the metronome so you can hear how all of these different rhythmic values sound in context. So in Mary Had a Little Lamb, there was a kind of beat that we didn't use. So just as a quick recap, we took a look at the quarter note, which is just a plain black note, and it is worth 1 beat. We took a look at the half note, which is very similar. It's just white. It's not filled in, worth 2 beats. And we also learned the whole note, which gets 4 beats. So you kind of notice there's a little gap here. So I just want to fill in this gap. let's look at a beat that gets 3. So it looks very similar to a half note with one difference. It's got a dot. Therefore, we know it as half note dot. Very creative, original name, but it's easy to remember. So now you know the 4 different basic beats that we're going to be using in the next little while. Okay, so now for the fun part. It's all fun. This isn't the only fun part. I want you to look at the PDF rhythmic values. There's just a bunch of different lines of music with different rhythms, and I want to see how good you are at reading those rhythms and figuring it out. And if you want to up the ante, try practicing clapping out those rhythms while there's a metronome going, just to see if you can keep it really steady. So one other aspect of rhythm that I'd like to talk about today is time signature. So this is what your time signature looks like, and it's just giving you more information about the piece. So the top 4 is telling you that in every single bar, there is going to be a total of 4 beats. So you can tell just by kind of quickly glancing that there's 4 beats in every bar. So there's 4 quarter notes. Each quarter note gets 1 beat. That adds up to 4. 1 plus 1 plus 2 equals 4. And so on and so on. You can see that every single bar of the song, you can add up to a total of 4 beats. And that's all that's telling you. So that bottom 4 is basically just representing a quarter note. So this is like saying there's 4 quarter note beats in every bar. For most of the music you're going to be learning in the early days, the bottom number is always going to be 4. And it's that top number that's going to determine how many counts there are in each bar. A couple of other time signatures are 3/4 and 2/4. So these work in the same way. That bottom 4 represents a quarter note. So in the case of 3/4, it means that there's 3 beats, 3 quarter note beats in every bar. So every bar is basically going to add up to 3, and you'd count it like that. 2/4 is even easier because every bar just adds up to 2. There's only going to be 2 beats per bar, and it's going to look like that. Nice and simple. So why is all this time signature stuff important? Well, most music you hear on the radio, actually, you know what? All music you hear on the radio is based on a time signature. And same with the vast majority of classical music too. Without a time signature, we wouldn't know how to dance to a song. We wouldn't know what the main beats are that we're supposed to, headbang to. Without that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2 driving us to the first beat, we wouldn't know how to groove out. We wouldn't know where the main beats are. So before I send you off to look at the second PDF and try out those rhythms, take a look at one more example here. So you see a little rhythm in 3/4 time, which means every bar is going to add up to 3. Now the easiest way to pull off rhythms effectively is, in this case, to count up to 3 in every bar. So I'll show you what that looks like. So that gets the first beat, that gets the second beat, and that gets the third beat. And then once our bar line happens, we reset and start all over. So this one, as you remember, gets 3 counts all to itself. So we just count to 3 there. And then here we go again, same thing. That gets beat 1, that gets beat 2, that's beat 3. Now this one gets the first and second beat because it's worth 2 counts. And this final quarter note gets beat 3. And then when you play it and count out loud like this, or, count in your head or whatever, it just makes sure that you're keeping to that rhythm. All right, so now I want you to go kind of crazy and check out the second PDF and have no shame about it. Honestly, count out loud, do a little dance, do a little 1, 2, 1, 2, get a little shimmy going if you think that'll help. Most importantly, just have fun with it. And second most importantly, really make sure that you get a firm grasp on these concepts so that when we do our next lesson, learning how to actually read the notes, you'll be super prepared and you won't be freaking out not knowing what you're doing. Awesome. All right. Thanks for hanging out today. This was kind of a long, involved video. I hope you stuck with it. As usual, you can subscribe to this channel by clicking the little subscribe button wherever it is, probably down low. And you can also go to www.pianotv.net where my blog is and these videos are posted if you want to stay in touch. Toodaloo!